Erev Tov, Shavua Tov, as we transition out of Shabbat. And we're now in the start of another week. And we gather together here once again. Keep going, one foot in front of the other, taking another step on the 49-day journey from Pesach, Shavuot, from Mitzrayim, from the narrow space, to Bamidbar, to the wilderness, to the expanse of receiving Aseret Dibrot, the 10 commandments, the 10 utterances, revelation. And so we take some breaths, centering ourselves in the present moment, the here and now, because that's where we are. And we take that in as we prepare once more to count. And so we bless. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat haomer. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign spirit of the universe, who brings us holiness with the mitzvot and connects to us with the counting of the Omer. Hayom Shiva Yamim, Hayom Shiva Asar Yom, Shehem Shnei Shavuot, V'Shlosha Yamim Ba'Omer. Today really is 17 days, which is 2 weeks and 3 days of the Omer. Tiferet, Shebetiferet, a day of compassion in a week of compassion. Min hametzar karatia, min hametzar karatia, anani v'merchavia, min hametzar karatia. Min hametzar karatia, nani v'merchavia. And so we continue on this day of compassion, in a week of compassion, as I'm framing compassion, as living in that cycle, from the Mitzar, from that narrow place, from Mitzrayim. Finding answers, finding solace, finding forwardness, finding something, but from an expanse. And on this double day of compassion, I want to bring you a teaching of compassion that was inspired by my teacher, Norman Fisher. Some years ago when we studied together at Makor Ora, Jewish meditation center that he founded with another teacher of mine, Rabbi Ellen. And we were in the time of Elul. Now, Elul is another one of those stopping places on the Jewish calendar. That's a contemplative time. It's the month before Tishrei, the month before Rosh Hashanah, the month before we start that new year. And it's a time when each day we are supposed to devote some time to our tshuva, which sometimes is translated as repentance. I don't know, it's a word I find just makes me a little squirrely. I prefer to think of it as return, which it has that in it. It's a return to what we need to review, what we need to look at in the year past, and maybe what we want to see differently, move forward on in the year to come. And one of those years, the tshuva that I was working on, that I have to tell you, quite frankly, it doesn't always take 1 year. I've worked on this a lot of years, and I know I will unfortunately keep coming back to it. But I was feeling that I was just too often in a judgmental place. And that was stopping me from feeling, from seeing. It was just not a good place to come from when dealing with yourself and with the world. And it was something I needed to figure out how and where did that come from. And that year, Norman gave a teaching about tshuva, about the returning. And he looked at it as a turning. That when you see something that maybe you want to change, or maybe you need to look at differently, or maybe you're not happy with it, wherever that goes, you see something, you want to learn more about it, maybe how to counteract it. But a different side, the tshuva is to turn it over. Instead of returning, turn and see what's there. And I took that in, and that year I looked at judgmental, and what was the other side of being judgmental. And what I came to was compassion, was caring. Because if I didn't care, I'd have nothing to be judgmental about it. I just ignore the situation. But feeling these judgmental should, whatever, wherever that, when you're judgmental and you think someone should do something and they're not doing it the way you want to do it, and why, there's all sorts of aspects to that. But if you didn't care, you wouldn't be involved at all. You wouldn't want to change it. And so I began to realize that if I could, when I was feeling judgmental, if I could look at the why I cared and work on the compassion, caring part, maybe the judgment side would just trickle down and return to compassion. Because the judgment and the caring, like yesterday, I talked about the loving kindness and compassion. The direction is where the judgment lies. But if I can concentrate on the compassion, how much better it would be. And so on this double day of compassion, this double meets this double sephirah of compassion, of a day of compassion and a week of compassion, I give you that tshuva, that turning. That if you're looking for compassion, look around. See why you care. It can make all the difference. Laila Tov, and I will see you tomorrow.